Today we look at the book of Habakkuk. Habakkuk is a little book wedged between Micah and Nahum before and Zephaniah and Zechariah right after. Habakkuk occurs during a difficult time in Israel's history. Over 100 years before, the northern kingdom of Israel had been conquered by the Assyrians. Now Babylon has conquered the Assyrian nation. It destroys the city of Nineveh. After it destroys the Assyrians, it looks south to conquer Egypt. And to get to Egypt, it has to go through Palestine. For a period of about 30 years, these two superpowers, Babylon to the north, Egypt to the south, conquer and control Palestine to let it serve as a buffer state where the war will be waged between Babylon and Egypt. First one nation, then the other conquers and controls. And poor Judah in Palestine is caught between these two superpowers. So in Habakkuk chapter 1, verse 2, Habakkuk says, "Violence is everywhere I cry, but you don't come to save." The Lord responds to Habakkuk's cry. After the Lord's response, Habakkuk responds again. Chapter 1, verse 12. "O Lord my God, my Holy One, you who are eternal, surely you don't plan to wipe us out. O Lord, our rock, you have sent these Babylonians to correct us, to punish us for our many sins." Then just a couple of verses later, he says, "Will you let them get away with this forever? Will they succeed forever in their heartless conquests?" It's a tough time for Judah. First one, then the other, conquers and controls. They take what resources they have and try to buy favor, primarily with Egypt, but they pick the losing side because eventually they too are conquered. What I love about the book of Habakkuk is after his complaints, Habakkuk sings a hymn to the Lord. And the very last verses, chapter 3, verse 17 to 19. "Even though the fig trees have no blossoms, and there are no grapes on the vines, even though the olive crop fails and the fields lie empty and barren, even though the flocks die in the fields, and the cattle barns are empty, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I'll be joyful in the God of my salvation. The sovereign Lord is my strength. He makes me as sure-footed as a deer, able to tread upon the heights." At the end of his book, Habakkuk realizes that God is sovereign. He is in control. What he is doing, Habakkuk might not understand, but he trusts God. He trusts that there is a purpose. He trusts that there is a greater plan in play. As we look at Israel, we see what that greater plan is. First, Daniel rises to prominence in Babylon. Then Mordecai and Esther rise to prominence. Then Israel is allowed to return to Jerusalem. First Ezra and then Nehemiah go back, and Israel is again returned to a national entity, a state that exists and that eventually bears the Messiah. No matter what happens next Tuesday, God has a plan, whether our candidate wins or not. God is in control, effecting his plan for us and for the nation. Rest assured that you can trust in the sovereign Lord. See you Sunday.